So, Applied Neuroscience, MSc, Distance Learning at King's College London. I've had a few questions about how it works, and people are wondering about whether it's for them or not. I just wanted to give you this little video to show you my experience of it, and then maybe you could better decide going forward if it's something you want to do. Now, first things first, you need to know how the assessment structure works. It's one exam, which is 20% of the mark, an essay, which is 70% of the mark, which is and the length in the first few modules is 1,500 words. I don't know if that's going to be the same going forward. And also 10% of your mark comes from a forum where you'll be given a question, and you and your kind of fellow students will answer in there, and you get to see everyone's answers and you get to put your own answer in. For this particular situation, it's just a participation mark. You just have to say something. You don't have to, like, there's no pressure on what you say, but you are told you cannot just answer one word replies, one sentence replies. Oh yeah, I think this is great. Oh yeah, I think this, therefore I don't know, whatever. You can't just basically make it quick and simple. You do have to have thought about your answer, and you are also encouraged to put some references in, show where you learned something. And yeah, look, it might sound to some of you like that's a lot of work, but it's not. Like, also I would say, look, don't think it's not a lot of work, because thinking is required, so it's not like you can't think, but you're going to do that anyway. You're doing a course in applied neuroscience. You were expected to think from the get-go. But the benefit is that this is just free marks. You'll get 100% just for saying something. So 100% of 10% of your grade is done as long as you participate every week. And in your final week, with the first module anyway, nothing. I mean, in week 5, you weren't really required to answer, because that's exam week or coursework week, so they let you off there. But all the other weeks, like week 6, you'd have to answer something. And week 6 is when you have your exam, which doesn't get in the way, because you're going to be learning concepts from, or you're going to be revising concepts from what you learned anyway, so you can apply an answer, or you can answer based on that anyway, so that's not a big deal. Anyway, the exam itself is multiple choice. It's 50 questions. Well, that's what my first module was like anyway, 50 questions. You get 1 hour, and it's open book. So the reason it's open book, obviously, is because it's distance learning. You can't really evaluate everyone, but it's not open book in the sense that you don't get that much time. You won't be able to flick through an entire textbook to get an answer. You will have to know a lot of the stuff. Sure, you can have a lot of content laid up around you to refer to, and you'll know where to look, but you have to have revised that to have made something to look and seek an answer somewhere. And I like this system, and the reason why is because you do have to know the content, absolutely, but in real life you're always going to refer to something anyway when you start work. So that's why actually a multiple choice system is quite good. Sorry, not a multiple choice system. That's why a open book system is quite good in that sense, because listen, if you learn it all now, you won't necessarily remember it in the future. You'll only start remembering when you tag your experiences with emotions. That's how we remember things, and you can only do that when you gain something. So when you're applying knowledge in your job or in your field, maybe you go on to get a clinical psychiatry qualification and become a clinical psychiatrist, you will get positive emotion from applying your knowledge to help individuals, and that's how you'll gain experience, because you'll have a much greater your brain will, was going to say you'll have a much greater reason to remember something, but that's not really, that doesn't do the concept justice. I'm talking about a concept I actually learned in Module 1, which was, for me, Psychological Foundations of Mental Health. Your semantic, I believe it's semantic memory, is based on emotions. So it's either semantic or the other one, which is terrible because I just did the module. I need to go out and remember that. But there's one type of memory that is used to remember events, and one event is something you could remember easily, long term. You'll remember it for the rest of your life, and it's because of the emotions you felt in that event. So it could be a wedding where you felt some great emotions, happiness for your friend, or your own wedding, happiness for yourself. And then obviously negative emotion, maybe someone treated you badly one day and you remember that feeling and you associate all the stimuli with that. And then obviously it becomes a problem with things like PTSD, where unfortunately the same system is used and will create some very maladaptive behaviors due to the trauma of the situation, and then that will influence your attention. Anyway, I'm waffling on about neuroscience. We'll talk about more of that in other videos. Now, the essay itself, you'll be given the 3 choices for the first few modules. You get given 3 questions, and for the last module it was 1,500 words. I would assume it's the same for the next 3 modules. You'll get given the 3 questions at the beginning, so you'll know where to look in the module. But the thing is, some of the concepts that you will want to talk about, some of the concepts and some of the questions come up later in the module. And so from day 1, all of the module content is released, all the lectures are released, so you can watch everything on day 1 if you like. And I would encourage that, because as I said, the modules all have different topics from different weeks. So if a question is heavily weighted on week 5, you would need to have seen that before you make your decision. So for me, I would say watch all the lectures in week 1. Each week's lecture is about 3 hours on average, and then you get a consolidation set of lectures where you consolidate everything you learn and you see how it's applied in the world. That's maybe 2 to 3 hours as well. I would say, listen, watch some of those every day, and over the next 10 days or so, you should have watched everything. Just watch them. Don't make notes. Just watch them once, and you're going to be able to re-watch them and make notes in the future and do whatever you want. But it gives you a good map of the understanding of. It gives you a good map of understanding of what the module is all about. I didn't do this, which is why I'm recommending you do this. And so I picked something, and then, I don't know, I was all over the place, and then at the end, life got in the way, unfortunately. I got fired from my job. I'm a contractor, and they ran out of work, so that's why. I wasn't bad at my job or anything like that. I'm actually very good at my job, which is why I'm doing this topic, because I realize if I'm good at this job, which is not really requiring a lot of cognition, imagine what I could do over there in neuroscience. So that's my thinking. That's why I chose this master's, because engineering, listen, they tell you how great they are, and they tell you what they're doing in terms of pushing technology, but when it comes down to it, they're not doing it. And the reason why is because a lot of old people are really pushing against the tech, and the reason why is because it's in their interest and in the interest of their friends. If tech is pushed, then this young punk is going to come along and take over everything. And they fear that because they don't really understand what's going on technologically. And it's not because they're old and so-called unaware. It's because they have created a career and they're doing well right now. So now, when you come along, they're not motivated to learn the stuff because they've already got tons of money. So you are motivated because you're not making any cash. And I think a lot of them, they want to push back because they don't fully understand what you're trying to do, and they forgot about their hustle. And a lot of them actually didn't have a hustle. They just found a job and were happy and content in their life where they were socializing and stuff. We won't talk about them too much. I'm going to stick to the topic. I don't know why I drifted off there. But anyway, the essay. You would need to watch all those lectures and then re-watch them and make notes in the future. That's my opinion of how that would work. And also you'd get to submit you are required to submit an essay plan, which isn't too long. It's just going to be bullet points and things. Just break down your paragraphs, what you're going to write and where. Maybe put some references down of what you're going to use. And that's why it's important to watch all the lectures, because then you have a good understanding of where you're going to go with this. You don't even need to think. The reference, putting references in isn't really important. It's just about the content and the structure. And the teaching fellow will give you feedback on that. And then you have a good guide of where to go. So the mark, with my particular group and my particular, at this particular time, and it may be subject to change in the future because they do ask you for feedback. I think in week 2 of the 6-week module, each module is about 6 weeks for the first few. In week 2 or week 3, you're expected to submit your plan. I think it's week 2. And then in week 5, you're expected to submit the essay. And then in week 6, you'll do the exam. So yeah, for me, I didn't do very well in my first essay. It was my first academic essay I've written in a while, and even when I did do some academic stuff before, so to speak, I did engineering, which wasn't very essay-based. It was more project-based. Referencing wasn't really a big thing. You had to reference something, but most of the stuff you were doing was more telling the guy, this is what I'm building, this is what I'm doing. You don't need to reference, and so my ability to reference wasn't very good, and I prioritized the wrong things. We'll talk about my essay in another video. Now, in terms of the social aspects, it's all online, so you'll probably never meet most of the people that you talk to. You get put into one group, and that group is led by a teaching fellow, and the teaching fellow will reply to you in your weekly forum. As I mentioned, you don't want to just reply to the forum with some one-sentence reply. You're expected to think and really write properly about your ideas and opinions. And so she will reply to those, but she's also your point of contact. So you will email them, and I say she, mine was female, but I'm sure there's some male ones. I think my second one is also female. Yeah, there are male ones. I've seen the anyway, doesn't matter. It's not important. So with me, I worked with one of them, and she replied to me almost instantly anytime I had a question, and they're open for meetings. Every week you will either get office hours or coffee breaks. A coffee break is like a group meeting with you and your colleagues, or not colleagues, you and your fellow students within this group. With my experience of coffee breaks with my first group, it was usually between 1 and 6 attendees. So if it's 1 attendee, it's just you and the teaching fellow. If it's 6, it's obviously all of you and the teaching fellow. The teaching fellow leads the meeting, and then you also get office hours where you get to talk to your teaching fellow. She will tell you what availability she has that day, the day before or the 2 days before, I think. And you just email her or him, whoever, and you really you get to ask them questions about the course, questions about your essay, questions about whatever it is, and they'll guide you. They won't give you an answer, but they will guide you to where you can get the answer, which is the important factor in universities. It's something that a lot of people don't like, but it is important to do it that way, because you must find the answer for yourself. And if you're guided to an answer, this is life. This is how life works. This is why I'm a huge advocate of certain self-help books, because you are not the smartest person in the world. You are not so great. You need to develop your ability to take ideas and apply them going forward, or you need to be able to develop the possibility of you need to develop the concept within your own mind of you being told where to seek information and actually going there and seeking information and applying it going forward. And that's why they don't give you answers at universities. They just guide you to an answer and get you to answer the question for yourself, because learning going forward, that is a much more powerful way of keeping the information in your head, because you get a good emotional response, or you get an emotional response in your brain and in your mind associated to finding an answer, and you tag that answer with that emotional response, which is what creates long-term memory, also known as semantic memory. I think it's semantic. There's another type of memory which is associated to events and things like that. Anyway, I should know that because I just finished the module in that, but I'm going to go revise that. But if you just revise something, or if you're just given an answer, you're going to forget it. You're going to be more likely to forget it going forward. So that system is in place whether you do it online or in person. The other thing is, I like the rolling intake where you just apply, you get in, and then you just start a month later. Every 2 months they have a new intake. For me, that's convenient because I want to learn. When I want to learn something, I want to learn it now. I want to do it now. I'm a big doer in the moment. I'm also a risk taker, which has cost me in some aspects of life, absolutely. But in terms of something like this, it's beneficial. I mean, we'll see how good this risk was, but I mean, the problem is that it is very expensive. Universities are very expensive, and yeah, we won't talk about that. That's a different topic entirely. But coincidentally, let's talk about the pay structure. It's £18,000 for me anyway. I think it's that same price for everyone internationally. So you pay per module, so £1,500 approximately. I think the first one was 1,500. I think the second one was supposed to be 1,538 because it went up slightly. I don't know. But then I remember paying just 1.5k. Even though I got that email saying it's 1.538. I don't know. Yeah, so you pay per module, you don't pay all at once, and they don't allow scholarships. I don't believe they allow scholarships. I think even if you manage to get a company to pay for you, they don't invoice corporations, they only invoice individuals to prevent that. I personally don't like that. That's one criticism I'll have. It's like, why does it matter to you? You're going to get paid. Like, what's your problem? It really is. Actually, I would actually say that is stupid, and it is actually dumb. No, it's straight up dumb. Like, why does it matter to you where the money comes from? If a corporation is willing to pay for a dude or an individual to go and do this course, why does it matter, man? Just let it happen. Because for me, I'm actually having trouble with work. I'm not working right now, and it's not looking good because, well, I was let go due to COVID. I'm a contractor, so they can do that. And so I was actually looking to appeal to corporations to pay for this because I feel I can do that. I think my ambitions, I may be able to sell that, but they won't even invoice a corporation, and I don't think there's any exceptions. I'm gonna try anyway. We'll see if someone's willing to work something out, but whatever. If not, whatever. I'll just make it happen. I'll make it work somehow. So, one thing I need to talk about is another criticism, so to speak, is the coffee break. And this isn't a criticism to the university. This is just it's a group meeting. So a coffee break is where you and all of your fellow students come together in this particular group. So you get assigned to groups, to about 20 each, and there's one teaching fellow heading that. So you get to talk on the forum, but then in a coffee break, all of you get invited to a meeting, and it's either in the morning English time or in the evening to kind of allow people from all over the world to pick a time for them. But they're kind of crap, and it's not because of the university. It's just because when you are in a group meeting getting to know each other, you're much better off face to face, but you can't do that because it's distance learning and people are all over the world, so this is the only solution to that. The problem is that because it's a meeting structure, only one person's really speaking at a time. Everyone must listen, and in terms of social skills, it's kind of awkward, because think about if you're in a group situation and everyone had to wait for one person to speak and everyone else just sat in silence and then the next person spoke. Socially, that's not great. And so I didn't go to this subject, or I didn't go to university for the social life, obviously, but it's nice to have that, because you want to have a group of people that you can talk to separately about psychology and about neuroscience. And you can push that various ways. You can have your own WhatsApp group and invite people, but I did do that at the start and I only got one person reply, so you need to think about that as well. At the same time though, there is a WhatsApp group, but then the problem with that was that it was full, so no one else could come in. There was like 250 people in that one. But listen, that's not the end of it. You can find a way to do it, because there's also a common room area online. It's not like a real common room, but you can go and post things in there, and you can maybe build a WhatsApp group, which I'll do now in this module. So yeah, listen, the options are there. You can do something with it. It's not the end of the world that it's like that, because listen, you'll get different groups. My first group just wasn't too social. I mean, one of them tried to slap me down when I talked about my enthusiasm to learn about serotonin, and I was just thinking, who the hell are you to slap me down? Fair enough if the teaching fellow slaps me down, which she did do actually, kind of. But she humbled me. But that was one individual, and it was like, I did respond. I was like, look, that's not what I said. She took my words out of context. And yeah, in terms of the characters, you'll get a range of characters. A lot of these people are professionals and doing things, so you'll get a range of people, whether it be people, I can only really give examples of people who I've seen, come across on the forums and in coffee breaks. There was one professional ice hockey player, Tony Salamanum, I believe. He's done a TED talk. He had a few concussions in his career, and so he had to stop. And so I think that's what motivated him to come to this course. That's what he said, and I'm just telling you what he's very open about. I haven't said anything that I don't think he would like me saying. I don't know him. I've met him once, just said hello on the coffee break because I turned up at the end. I thought it was at 10, not at 9. Because you get two options, 10 or 9, but I didn't realize that people voted for 9. I didn't realize it was even voting. I thought there was two different ones, and I only had one notification. Anyway, then there was other individuals who are sometimes, some of them a bit older, who are just looking to learn something in their older age. Maybe I think one was like 70 and one was in their 40s, 50s. And then you get people your age and like 30s, and it's a very, very diverse group in terms of where they are, as well as their ages and their backgrounds. I'm trying to think of what else. I should really have noted down some key points, but I didn't. So, I mean, you can always email me. My details will be in the thing below, or comment on this video. Anyway, I hope that's answered some of your questions. I hope you've learned some stuff. I was going to say check the description below for times, but we're right at the end now, so maybe I should have said that at the beginning. I'll have a breakdown of what is where. Anyway, done.